Hi seamstress, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to the channel, please kindly subscribe. There are amazing videos in this channel. In today's video, we shall be learning how to draft a pattern for the upper part of this dress. Let's do a small analysis before we get started. First of all, you would realize that the neckline is a raised neckline from around the neck area if you check well. Apart from being a raised neckline, you'd also realize that the neckline is an asymmetric neckline and it has a princess dart. So we're just going to go ahead and start drafting. First, we would create the raised neckline before we would go into drafting the princess dart, and then finally the asymmetric neckline. Stay tuned. So this is my basic bodice block. This is my bust dart and this is my waist dart. This dart is going to be relevant in drafting our pattern. This here is a paper that has been folded like this. Remember, what we are working with is an asymmetric neckline. Now, because I wouldn't want to do this draft twice, I have decided to fold this paper like this. Next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and place my basic bodice like this. What you will notice is that my center front here aligns with the folded parts of the paper. And that is what your pattern should look like. First of all, I'm working with a miniature measurement and basic bodice, but the important thing is you should just stick with the measurement I'm going to work with. Despite being a miniature pattern, the measurement I work with is one that is applicable to an adult. So all you need to do is just to listen, and when it's time for you to draft, you go ahead and input this exact measurement I'm working with on your adult pattern. So just to listen, I'm just doing this for the purpose of illustration. So from the tip of our neckline here, you're just going to go ahead and measure 2 centimeters and mark like this. Then from your neckline here, you're going to measure between 4.5 centimeters. That's 4.5 centimeters to 5 centimeters, whatever you're comfortable with. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark like this. Now I'm going to connect this mark I have made earlier here to this one with a curve. And this is it. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to slash this line here and make a pivotal movement with this. When I slash, I'm going to get to this point, but I'm not going to cut it off. I'm just going to slash it to that point, but careful not to cut it off. It is worthy of note again that I am only working with this pattern, and that's the reason why I'm working with a brown basic bodice block and a white paper, just so you would see the contrast. As you can see, I have only slashed the basic, leaving the white paper untouched. Next thing I'm going to do is from this point here, I'm going to measure between 4 and 7 centimeters towards this point here. So I'm just going to go ahead and then take the measurement between 4 and 7 centimeters. I'm using 4 centimeters for this. I'm going to use a tape now to hold this down so it doesn't move. So from this part here, I'm just going to go ahead and then redraw my neckline from here to here using a curve. Okay, so I have gone ahead and redrawn my neckline. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to straighten this line around this point, because as you can see, it's kind of it's almost not straight. Okay, there you have it. Then using my tracing wheel, I'm just going to go ahead and trace the entire basic bodice, including the darts. Now to get your princess dart, all you need to do is go ahead and take the entire measurement of your arm's eye. This is your arm's eye. You just go ahead and take the entire measurement like this. Whatever your answer is, you divide it by 2. So you go on and then you divide by 2 like this. Next thing you're going to do is to this point here, you're just going to go ahead and connect with a straight line like this. Now, so this is your bust point. To get your under bust, the standard measurement for size 8 to 18 is 3 inches. Sorry, I'm working with inches now. I started with centimeters and then I switched to inches. Just bear with me and work with that. This is your inches in your tape and this is your centimeters. So it is 3 inches. That's the standard measurement to get your under bust. So what you need to do is from your bust point here, you go on and measure 3 inches. So this line here that we just drew is our under bust area. You divide your under bust by 4. Whatever measurement you get, you work with it. Assuming your under bust is 30 inches, 30 divided by 4 is going to give 7.5 inches. So what you do is from the center front here, you start measuring to this dot to see what you have. Okay, this one says 4.2. So we mark 4 like this at this point here. We mark our 4 inches. Alternatively, you can just finish off this measurement to this point. That's you measure from the center front to that leg here. For me, what I'm doing right now is I'm just saying, okay, I'll stop with 4 inches because I would want to shape this area. But if I don't want to, I'll just go ahead and do it like this and bring the measurements to this part. What I have left now is out of 7.5 inches. That's if I'm measuring for is 3.5 inch. So from this part here, that's the side of my basic bodice. I'm just going to come back and measure 3.5 inches and then I'll mark it like this. There's a control guideline that gives a particular measurement for this, but if you want it to be very tight such that you wouldn't have to wear a bra much later, this is how you go about it. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a curve to connect between this point here and this point. But before then, I'm going to take the entire measurement between this part here and the bust point. Whatever I get, I'm going to divide it by 2. And then I'll go on and mark like this. At this point, I'm going to measure 3/8 of an inch. Like this. This also is the standard measurement regardless the size you're working with. So first I'll use a curve and connect from the arm's eye to this point here. I'll use a curve to connect like this. Then using the same curve, I'll go on and connect it to the bust point like this. And then I'll erase this temporal line here. Next thing I'm going to do is I'll then go on and continue with a curve to this point. Smoothen your curve because there aren't crooked lines in pattern drafting. And this is what you have. Next thing you're going to do is just to go ahead and then bring this down. But before you bring it down, check and see that the waist measurement here is your exact waist measurement. If it's not, you then go on and start the measurement from the waist here to that leg and see what you have. If it's in excess, you then continue your waist measurement. Say you have 8, or let's say you have 6.5 inch, and then your measurement from the center front to that leg, let's say is 3 or 3.5. You then measure to 3. Then you come back here and continue 3.5. Whatever excess you have, you mark it just like we did here, and then you connect this point to your excess. If, however, your waist measurement is exactly your waist measurement, all you need to do is just to go on and connect like this. And you're done. For this part, we can choose to continue. That's if you started your measurement and then you stopped at that leg, all you need to do is just shade this unwanted parts together. If however you stopped somewhere here, you would also continue with a curve from the bust point here like this, and then using a straight line you connect to that leg. And this here becomes your princess dart. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to shade my unwanted parts like this. We're going to come back to this, but not now. Using my tracing wheel, I'm going to go ahead and trace the princess dart. I'll just go on like this. Remember I said the fabric, the paper I mean, is on fold. So I have whatever I want, whatever I did on this side to appear on the other side of the pattern paper. And there you have it. So whatever I have on this side has been copied to this side. Next thing I'm going to do is to create my neckline. At this point here, I'm just going to go ahead and say measure 3 inches down like this to this point, then go on and connect the 3 inches to this part here like this using a curve. Next thing I'm going to do is to, from this point here, I'm just going to continue from here. Let's see, 1/2 inch away from the center like this, and also continue with a curve. And then using your free hand, you finish off with a U that connects them like this. And there you have the neckline. And this is it. Next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and cut out the excess and the unwanted parts. First, we'll start with the neckline. There are some stress. What you should note is that this neckline here started from the tip of the neck. That's the curve itself, started from the tip of the neckline. So I'll go on and I'll cut the curve, which is kind of tricky. And there you have the neckline. Then we're going to go on and continue with our princess dart. The reason why I am cutting this with ease is because I used a tracing wheel, and because I used a tracing wheel, I can see what is on this side of the pattern. So this is what we have. But remember that there's a dart here that is also visible here. So what I'll do is I'll work with this one where you can see. First thing I'll do is I'll go on and try to close the dart. If you have learned dart rotation in the past, you would know that this upper part here gets rotated to this point like this. Under. It goes under and not this lower part here going up to meet it. The lower part remains where it is, like this. It is the upper part that now comes, gets pivoted or rotated as the case may be, to meet the under bust. If you notice, there's a difference between this curve here and this curve here, and this is the reason why the upper part has to be rotated to come under the lower part. Hold it down with a tip, and then you do the same thing to this side. And if after rotating you realize that your curve here is not smooth, you go ahead and smoothen it by redrafting the curve all over again. Now, there aren't crooked lines in pattern drafting. If you notice, there's a space here and there's a space here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and place brown papers. I want you to see the contrast on that and then blend everything. And then using a ruler, I'll go on and blend it. I'll then go ahead and use a clear tip and just turn around. And there you have it. I have gone ahead and blended it, and now I have a straight line. I'll do the same thing for this side. And there you have it. I have gone ahead and blended the sides as well. So this is what our final pattern looks like for the front. Now to the back. I'm going to go ahead to now draft the back bodice. From the tip of the neck here, we're going to go ahead and measure between 3 to 3.5 centimeters. So we'll go on and measure 3 to 3.5 centimeters like this at this point. Using a ruler, we're going to connect this here to this like this. So this is our 3 or 3.5 centimeter mark. From this point here, that's the neckline, we're going to go ahead and measure 1.5 centimeters to 2 centimeters. So I'll just measure from here. Using a curve, I would now connect this part to the shoulder here. And then from here, I would make a curve and connect it to this one. Let me erase the unwanted lines so you would understand the draft. This is our new neckline. So what I'll do next now is to go ahead and contour the back. That's the center back area. This is just to avoid a bulge at the back. So from the center point here, I'm going to measure 1/2 inch here, and then measure 1/2 inch like this. Then it's already drawn, but I'll do it. Go on and draw a straight line and connect it to the back like this, and then trim it off. Then at this point, it depends on your size actually. I'm going to go ahead from the waist upwards towards the neck. I'm going to measure 1/2 inch as well. And then using a straight line, I'll try to connect it to the waistline here. This is largely dependent on your bottom area. If you have a large bottom, you might need more than 1/2 inch. Just like I did the previous one, I would go on and trim off the excess. Next thing we're going to do now is to go ahead and plot our princess dart. We're going to take the entire measurement of our arm's eye like this, like we did the front. Whatever we get, we divide it by 2 and then we mark. Next thing we'll do is to go on and connect this mark here to this dart point here. Then we take the entire measurement of this point to this point. Whatever we get, we divide it by 2 and mark. At this point, because it is the back and we don't want it to bulge, we're just going to go on and measure 1/4 inch at the midpoint here. Using a curve, we'll just connect the 1/4 inch to the arm's eye area, and then we'll do this one like this, and that is it. Using my tracing wheel now, I'm going to trace everything I have done. I'll start with the princess dart like this. So I've gone ahead and traced the dart, and then CB, that center back. This is what your back pattern looks like. At all times before you go ahead and shape your shoulder, ensure that the size of your shoulder matches that of the front bodice. Good. You match them like this and ensure that it matches the bodice. And that is it. I hope you find this helpful. See you in another tutorial.